got Josue Lasea from South Tucson, Cheryl, Jose, and GJ from town of Oro Valley, Dion from town of Marana, Jana and Paul from Pima County, Yao from U of A, Jay from ADOT, Greg and Gabe from Tucson Department of Transportation Mobility, Patricia Pablo from the TO Nation. From the PAG side and my team over here, I've got Becky, Dawn, Brad, Crystal, Brianne, Richard Nessie, Jamie, Yinsu, David Zinda, Gabe Thumb, and David Mitchell. Did I miss anybody? Do a quick triple check. I see a name of Hal Feldman. Hal, I'm not familiar with. Do you mind introducing yourself?
Good morning. I'm new to the city of Tucson.
DTM. Fantastic. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
No, you'll notice, and I have to publicly say I really appreciate it. We've got quite a team over here that typically engage in this for interest. They're involved or they're really going out of their way to help support our efforts on this committee. So I don't say it often enough to the PAG team. Guys, I'm really grateful that you all take the time to jump in on this. Because it keeps a lot of things moving forward that otherwise that would fall by the wayside. But I'll tell you what, it's great to have second set of eyes, third, fourth, and fifth set really looking out for all this. So I just really want to publicly say thanks, guys. I appreciate it. With that, why don't we go ahead and jump in if I've got everybody covered, and we'll jump right into in-kind reporting. So as you know, we've got all of our planning efforts, recorded time donated by attendees. PAG collects that. All that time dedicated to it because we can use it as matching funds for grants and federal dollars. If anybody is being paid for with federal funds at this effort, please let me know. And hearing none, time spent in preparation will be estimated by the staff who are knowledgeable of the agenda and the materials, and the conclusion will automatically calculate all your time effort for this. So we appreciate that. It helps us cover all of our activities and make sure that we're maximizing our time invested on this. Next up are our safety activities from the PAG side of the house. Gabe, the floor is yours. I saw you on there, so jump in, my friend. What you got, what you know?
Thanks, Rick. Hey, everybody. Good morning. Good to see you all here. Just a quick update on the road safety assessment program. We've had a busy season so far. We've done 3 so far in the PAG region with 1 scheduled for 2 weeks from now. We've done Marianne, Cleveland. That's a joint one for the city and county. Mission Grande for the city. We did South 10th, an assessment for that, which we're still working with the city on. And Lance is more involved now, stepping up into the next phase of that for South Tucson. And then in 2 weeks, we'll be doing Silver Bell Road for the city. We've also been branching out and working with our state partners on road safety assessments. So far this year, we've done a road safety assessment with ADOT, and then just last week was a couple with MAG, Maricopa Association of Governments, which is the less glamorous MPO in the state. If they come in second, they come in second though, so that really says a lot for them. So I think kudos to MAG for coming in second. Yeah, got you on that one. Otherwise, does anybody have any questions?
Blake, go for it.
Hey, it's Blake Wolfson here. Can you hear me?
Yep, got you loud and clear, my friend.
Yeah, so I really appreciate assistance on these. It's invaluable. I just wanted to get some sense of, is this something that's going to continue into the future? Like a funded line item?
Yeah, so we've talked with and worked with our ADOT partners. I spoke with Carrie a couple months ago, and we're discussing future OWP funding to continue the RSA program. So as far as I know, yes, it's going to continue to be funded. And yeah, we're not planning on stopping the RSA program anytime soon.
Excellent, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for asking.
Yeah, I was going to say, good question, Blake. Just so all of you guys know, I think in Gabe's absence, I gave a presentation to the Transportation Planning Committee. That's the one up above us, TPC, on the ins and outs of the RSA program, what we do, how we do them. Gabe had essentially put the program together and then was unavailable because he was tied up on all these things. So I went through and gave and that's the director level for the various organizations. So well received. I think they still all see value, input, benefit of it, and still want to see it all continue to move forward. And we've had some great findings coming out of it. So I think it's, I realize I'm preaching to the choir on that, but it was well endorsed at the higher levels as well.
Yeah, and I should also jump in. We did an RSA for Marana as well. At Gladden Farms, but we conducted that one in December, and we did finally have the wrap-up meeting, the findings meeting with Richard and I. Yeah, if anybody has any questions on that one, I know Dion is here as well.
Okay. Gabe, anything else you want to cover from the PAG side of the house on safety?
No, I think we're good. Thank you.
Okay, you got it. Transitioning now to the jurisdiction updates. So we know there's HSIP awards out there. Paul's provided prior and previous presentations on the SS for All efforts that they have underway. So I will allow this now for open for whoever wants to raise their hand, jump in, share an update on anything they've got going on as it relates to safety activities within their respective jurisdictions. And don't feel pressured if you got nothing or it's just business as usual. That's always great too. Paul, go for it.
The peer pressure got to me, Rick.
Boy, I was going to say, I was hoping you'd cave, that's kind of I was trying to be as subtle as possible.
We are processing the necessary TIP amendments to get the HSIP projects into the TIP. So that's been underway, and we're in good shape on most of that. We still have a few wrinkles to work out with the Palo Verde project because we're using multiple funding sources, but that's not really an issue for now. We'll get there. And then on the SS4A side, we're working with Federal Highway. We did just get a signed agreement out of them, so we'll be taking it through the Board of Supervisors and getting organized for moving forward with a release of RFP in the near future. So we'll be tightening up the scope of work for that. And once we have that in a good shape internally, I'll be seeking some input and review from a few of you just to make sure that we're addressing the multi-jurisdictional nature of the SS4A action plan grant itself and the intent of the project. So that's where we're at.
Along those lines, and this may be way premature on that, you had indicated before you were still trying to think of structure, whether you're going to have an advisory committee, just kind of a conglomeration of folks, stakeholders. Have you thought through that more? Are you going to kind of wait and see or do that after the consultant team comes on board, or all still things to be decided as you move forward? Any progress on that or anything you want to put down that you want to let the group know?
No real progress on that. Okay. We are envisioning a multi-jurisdictional and multi-agency advisory committee. So we're looking at establishing something that's going to live beyond the grant itself. So we haven't really reconciled how that's going to be structured necessarily. I think we're open to what's going to be workable. My personal opinion is we certainly want jurisdictional representation, but I think we could do a better job getting other safety champions and professionals integrated into the safety culture and the oversight committee. So we're going to be open to how we might accomplish that.
Perfect. Okay. Sweet. Thank you very much, my friend.
I have a question for Paul. Paul, this is Dion. Thank you. You replied to my email very promptly, and I asked about the status on that Safe Streets for All grant. A follow-up question to that. You had said that best case scenario, maybe getting it launched, kicked off, so to speak, in August, September. What would be the timeline? Let's assume that optimistic schedule. when would the actual work begin and how long would that study last?
So we were very surprised at the very quick turnaround from Federal Highway to process the grant agreement. So I think we're on the optimistic side. We'll still need to get through the Board of Supervisors, and then we need to figure out the appropriate agreement to set up with the jurisdictions, because our grants management office is refining the grants agreements essentially for subrecipients and participating agencies and such. So we'll need to get through all of that. I'm very hopeful that we can be launched in September. I'm expecting that we should be able to turn around the Board of Supervisors approval and get a RFP on the street within a 2-month time frame, and then take a month to evaluate and then launch from there. So I think the timeline that's as good as we have at this point. We're hoping for a duration of 18 months. And so that's what we're going to be targeting. We may stretch that out to the full 24 months, depending on what loose ends need to be tied up at the end. I have started the conversation with Federal Highway about the nature of doing an action plan while implementation funding is being released on the regular. And so we will look for ways to identify potential candidate projects to go after implementation funding before the completion of the entire action plan for 18 or 24 months. I don't want to have to wait for 24 months before we can set everybody free to go and get federal SS4A implementation grant funding. ADOT or FHWA seems receptive to that, but they can't say for sure. I think they're hearing that from multiple people, multiple agencies who are doing action plans and seeing that there's implementation grant opportunities flying by. So we'll be exploring it in that way. And just to reiterate, I'm hoping that we'll be able to come out with lists of safety-oriented projects and initiatives that are multi-agency as well as agency-specific. Not all of those are going to be good candidates to federalize. Doesn't mean we don't want them on the list. We want a full comprehensive list so we can pluck out those ones that might be good candidates for federalizing and going after SS4A implementation funding. We also want to be able to identify good candidates to go after HSIP funding, and then good candidates that would be best suited for local funding or other funding. So that's the general plan. Hoping for 18-month duration, expecting it might slip into a full 24 months just so we can tie everything up at the end and get released on being able to go after additional federal grant opportunities as soon as possible within the plan development.
Thanks, Paul. It's a very complete answer. I have assigned to me from our strategic planning effort with the town of Marana to develop a roadway safety education campaign. And it occurred to me yesterday that maybe a supplemental Safe Streets for All planning grant could supplement the action planning grant that you've got to develop this safety campaign. We need to talk internally about that. That was just an idea, but by your nodding, I'm thinking maybe you're not averse to that idea because it would require collaboration.
Not averse at all, Dion. In fact, there may even be opportunity within the larger SS4A grant. What we've built in there is we want to be able to take some of the projects through design concept report, even to a 30% design level. So the prime candidates for federal funding opportunities are ripe and ready to just go after that application. So we've scoped out the project and we're ready to go. We don't need to limit that just to the infrastructure projects that are ready to go for SS4A implementation funds. So we may have opportunity to help you scope out and design what a safety education program would look like. So let's talk about that as we get into this.
Yeah, we need to discuss internally, like I said, and then if we wanted to apply for a supplemental grant, the deadline for that is July 10th. So maybe we could have a conversation offline.
Sounds good.
Okay, thank you.
Paul, I meant to ask, with all the agreements and bringing on that funding into it, and as you're preparing and proceeding with the board and finalizing all that, are you going to be needing a tip amendment out of our end?
I don't think so, because this is a plan development, so I'm not anticipating that it will be required to be part of the tip. Don't hold me to that. That may change if we discover from Federal Highway we need to get it listed in the tip. We haven't heard as such at this point.
Sort of tip.
Rick,
Yes.
that's a good question for our tip folks, because this is it's a direct recipient grant.
Yes.
So I don't know that it has to be in the tip, but really I'm not the expert on that either. So that would be a good question for Jamie and Caroline and that group.
I would rather us, if you guys can grant us the opportunity to ask Federal Highway, I'd rather ask on that side first.
Okay.
And then
Yeah, go for it, Paul.
depending on what we hear from them, if they say, yeah, all of these need to get into the tip, then so be it. But there's so many different agencies that are administering these action plans that I'm not sure that it's uniformly tip appropriate.
Gotcha. Dion had mentioned the supplemental funding. Paul, have you or your staff looked into, and that deadline is July, applying for any of that supplemental planning funding or the demonstration project funding? Because I know that those are pretty, they cast a pretty wide net for what could go into those. And I know that the completion of the action plan isn't required to be awarded those funds, either for supplemental or demo projects. So I'm wondering if you've had those conversations with your staff.
I've had conversations in my head, but no, not really. We haven't really talked it through. We don't really have the bandwidth, frankly, nor do we have like the burning need to do a demonstration project. But if there exists those needs at other agencies within the region, I would love to talk about that.
Okay. Well, keep me in the loop on that. Like I said, I know that if there's the planning, the supplemental planning was pretty wide. So yeah, if that's something that another jurisdiction wants to talk about, I think that it's worth having that conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious.
Thanks, Paul.
Any other agencies interested in applying for supplemental planning or demo grants? I guess
Hey,
not.
Paul Blake Olson here. I don't want to get too deep in here, and I know you guys are just starting out on this effort, but I was like, one thing that we've always wanted to do in the city is like a system-wide speed limit evaluation. And so is that something that the action plan would recommend, and then it would have to be funded separately?
I would anticipate it would most certainly recommend it.
Okay.
We've built in some capacity to be able to take some steps in that direction within the plan development itself.
Okay.
So I don't know how far we can get, but I know that staff on your side and myself, we've talked about it. There's common interests across Pima County and the city of Tucson to comprehensively look at speeds.
Okay.
And so I want to certainly dig into that as part of the action plan development, but I'm not sure how far we'd be able to take that.
Got it.
But it's safe to say the topic's on the table.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
It'll be a key tool in the toolbox for us to examine and figure out how to move it forward.
Okay.
Blake, is that like more of a near-term effort or a desire for that effort, or is that more of a long-term for the city?
Well, I mean, if I had time and resources, I would probably hire them to do a system-wide speed limit evaluation, but I don't. So I was wondering if, I would like to see that as a recommendation in the action plan to put a stake in the ground
Yeah.
at a minimum.
Sure.
And then I didn't know if the thing from the plan could actually fund that effort, or if that would be, implementation grant funding. And I have no idea how much this is going to cost, but I anticipate it's not going to be, depending on how deep we want to go on it, but it could be fairly costly.
I'm wondering whether, Blake, you might want to pursue a planning grant to do that sooner than later, which is kind of like what I was thinking about with regard to this education campaign, because you could apply for supplemental planning grants while your action planning grant is being developed. You wouldn't do that in isolation. You'd have to coordinate with the county, which is doing the action plan. But if it was something that the county thought was worthwhile, maybe you could even get a head start on that effort by applying for the supplemental grant.
Like, let's maybe have a sidebar with Patrick.
Yeah.
Because Patrick and I have talked about it, and as we kind of put the building block scope together for the SS4A action plan itself, we talked explicitly about the ability to take a system-wide speed analysis as far as we could within the plan. In the same way, we want to bring projects into a design concept and a 30% design to ready them for implementation. That's how we talked about speed management, but
Okay.
we didn't really nail it down per se.
Yeah, and well, so I don't want to spend too much time on this. Maybe we meet offline, but that was just one example. The other example is, I want a system-wide evaluation for Hawk rather than just kind of one-offs from HSIP or, whatever it might project base. So, another planning effort that I don't have resources for, and so. So anyways, there's several things that, like studies I like to implement, but in these cases that, you kind of need that first. So, I guess it's to be, and we can talk more later.
Yeah, let's talk offline. We've thought about those two issues explicitly, and we tried to have the action plan grant request reflect some flexibility for us to bring those things forward.
Hey, Paul, maybe we should get a small meeting together with you and Blake, if you're open to it, and Patrick and myself and whoever else for any of the other jurisdictions that want to talk about this specifically. Let me see if I can organize something offline.
Yeah, that'd be great.
That sounds great.
Sounds-
We'd be happy to do that.
Okay,
Thanks, guys.
fantastic. Thanks all.
Any other updates from any of the other jurisdictions?
This is Patricia for Paul. Is the Dawn Automation included as part of the jurisdiction for that?
Absolutely, Patricia. So we want to have everybody who wants to be involved. We did have more detailed conversations with a few of the other jurisdictions just to capture their staff time that we anticipate them spending on the action plan, so we can use that as local match. But for the TO Nation and the smaller jurisdictions, we didn't really go through that effort. We just want you involved.
Okay, and if you may too, I would like to be included in the meeting that Gabe's talking about.
Wonderful.
All righty, thank you.
Any, Cheryl, go for it.
So the town received funding for our federal funding for the safety project for a multi-use path on Naranja from La Cañada to First Avenue. We got our package into the LPA. They advertised it for a design consultant on Monday, and they hope to have a consultant chosen by the end of the month.
These
We
are the
also-
RTAG funds you're using, correct?
Yeah, the RTAG
Yeah.
with the RTA match.
Yep, perfect. Okay, ADA's advertised for A&E service consultant. Perfect. Okay. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you. I want to get that last part. Go for
No
it.
problem. That's why I was waiting for you to write it down. And then we also got the HSIP funding for flashing yellow arrows at 2 intersections. So we'll be sending in our package to LPA for that also.
Sending package to LPA. We'll check in with you in a few months and see how you like playing in the federal pool.
Oh yeah, it's fun already.
Yeah, I know what I mean when I say it that way. Okay, cool. Thank
Thanks,
you,
Rick.
Cheryl. Mm-hmm. Anybody else want to share any other updates, safety related activities they got going on? We'll kind of keep this as a standing item, unless we have more pressing things, but that's kind of my intent. So this is not a one shot. This is your only chance to speak. So, okay, double checking, no hands up. All righty. Let's see. Next item I've got is retroreflectivity standards for pavement marking. So as you recall from our last meeting in March, and Dion had brought this topic up as last fall, Federal Highways, I guess, came up with standards for this and a 4-year conformance timeframe. And so kind of was bringing this up to the group saying, basically, how do our current practices meet standards? So we had a little discussion on that. There's different activities and efforts that are underway. Jay mentioned ADOT's kind of gotten going on some of this. But at the conclusion of the discussion, Dion recommended that we get a separate little subcommittee established of just a few folks here to kind of look at this, similar to what we've done in the past, evaluate what our practices, opportunities, and make some suggested ideas or possibilities for consideration. So I put this on here is saying, and Dion, I'll stop first. Did I cover that? I know that was a fraction of what you had provided a couple months ago, but anything else you want to add to expand on or clarify what I said?
No, that's perfect, Rick. And I volunteer for a committee should one be formed.
That's where we were going next, and way to go, Dion. Dion's already. Okay, so just looking for a few folks that would be willing to kind of meet offline, start working on this, kind of do a little deeper dive, similar to efforts we've done a couple of years ago on various in different topics. We've had great success. The model seems to work. So I've got Dion wants to jump in. Paul, I see your hand up. Is that you're offering somebody or you're offering?
Yeah,
me?
I'm offering, I'm sacrificing somebody.
Who are you throwing to the wolves?
Lauren Fechtow is following this for us, and we need to get her back on the list. She didn't get the Zoom link for this morning because I think she's not officially listed on our alternates list, but she needs to be receiving these as well.
I cannot remember for the life of me because I'd had an email exchange before the meeting. Do you want her back on the regular distribution?
Yeah, exactly.
Somebody said there'd been some assignment shifts. Add Lauren back in.
Yeah, that was my mistake there.
Add
provided a
Lauren.
list to Catherine that did not include Lauren, and it should have.
Okay, Lauren Fechtel back in.
Thanks, Rick.
You got it. Remember the list, and Lauren just got volunteered for the subcommittee. Dion, Lauren, who else? Jose, I see your hands up. Who are you volunteering?
Yes, I'll have somebody there. I definitely want to participate.
Okay. I'll just put it down as Town of Oro Valley, follow up with Jose.
Thanks, Rick.
You got it. No, thank you. Blake O, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I'm volunteering, voluntolding Hal Feldman. And he's on this call, and if he can get added to the distribution list, I'd just like to introduce him. Hal's on his second week here at the city of Tucson. He comes from Odessa, Texas as their city traffic engineer with more than 30 years of experience. So we're really happy to have Hal. So if you see him around.
Welcome aboard, Hal. Hey, Blake, could either you or Hal send me email contact info so I'll have all that stuff? I won't get it, or I'm not able to get it through the Zoom call, but if you guys can email that stuff to me, that'd be fantastic.
Will do.
Thanks. Welcome aboard, Hal. Cheryl, I saw your hand up and then I saw it down, I think. Or were you
No,
just
I'm
kind of
good.
coinciding with Jose?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. I'll follow up with you guys then and see who wants to be on the team from that. So I got Dion, Lauren, Oro Valley Rep, Hal from DTM, Jay Gomes. You volunteering yourself or you gonna sign?
Yeah, I'll volunteer myself. Thank you.
Jay's in the game. And nope, that's a good group, folks. Then I will stay in touch. I'll follow up. Actually, Jose, Cheryl, GJ, if you guys decide following this discussion, shoot me an email. Otherwise, I'll check in with you guys. And we'll make sure we make progress on this and then keep it as an item to updates on our progress. All righty. Dion, I know this was a carryover from the item you had brought up. Anything else you want to add? Did I satisfactorily cover that?
Yes, you did. I think that getting this group started is a really great start. So thank you for taking that initiative.
You got it. Okay. All right. Next item up. This is a rename. It's called Automated Transportation Management System. Same thing. It was a topic that came up at our last meeting. This dealt with a lot of the communication software efforts we're doing. I think it's dealing with Maxview, Kinetics, and kind of wanted to put this under the umbrella of this better labeled item. So we're actually calling this now the ATMS topic. So with that, folks, it's a standing item. So I didn't have anything particular that I received any emails. It's an open topic. So for the good of the group, any discussion, any items, any concerns, anything want to be raised for the good of the committee?
Rick, I'll just report that we were on track with our federal funding that we got through PAG to first to buy more Maxview licenses, and until I realized that the transition to Kinetics was happening faster than I was aware of. Then I got permission to purchase Kinetics with those funds instead. However, our IT department has kind of put a hold on that. We had a meeting with Peoria because I kind of consider them the poster child for ITS in the state of Arizona. And they're not migrating to Kinetics. They haven't been happy with the Maxview support that they've gotten. So I'm not sure at this point, Rick, where I'm headed with those funds that I got through PAG. And I'm not sure at this point what ATMS program we'll be using. I did get a quote from Kits, and it was way higher than I had anticipated. So I'm not prepared to make any purchases for Kits anytime in the near future. So I'm in a holding pattern.
Perfect.
Open to suggestions.
Buy stock. I don't know. I sympathize with the situation you're in and the complexities. And all I can say is based on everything you've shared and what you provided to this group, I would have to say not rushing in and doing a purchase that you're going to wind up having buyer's remorse, 3 months, 6 months down the line. I think that's a wise decision making, Dion. Okay. Any other comments from the group? Anything else to add? Any other experiences on these items from the various jurisdictions, or any other thoughts from any of the other members?
So Rick, these kind of topics, I'm not quite sure where to mention this and whether you have mentioned it in the past, but Federal Highways is bringing Transportation System Management and Operations Workshop to the region, June 1. And so that workshop essentially will facilitate some discussions about a capability maturity model to talk about how well organized we are individually and collectively to address these types of system management issues and challenges, such as traffic signal management systems and other things. So more information to come on that, but June 1 is the date. It's going to be a multiple hour type of workshop we've reserved some space out at the county health center out on Ajo. So we'll be sharing some more details with that once we get that information out of Federal Highway.
On Ajo. And you said July 1. I already got the dates wrong. June 1. You said multiple. Are you looking at an all day or a morning
No,
slot,
it's just-
afternoon, or is there Federal Highway still trying to pin that down?
I think they're still trying to pin that down. They typically, and this is the planning meetings we've been talking through, Rick, with Ralph and others. So they're bringing workshops to Arizona. They're going to do one in the Phoenix metro area, May 31st, and then they're going to do a Tucson region one on June 1st. And so typically that goes through the MPO. We stepped in because PAG was kind of tight with space and all the dealings with RTA Next and other committee meetings and whatnot. So we volunteered to host the venue, and we're trying to work the details out with Federal Highway in terms of the agenda and some of the specific issues we'd like to have discussed amongst all of you and your staff.
On behalf of the multiple ones that are tied up in all those meetings and efforts, very, very grateful and thank you. Okay. Jay, what do you got to share?
No, I just wanted to follow up on what Dion was talking about with the Maxview and the kits and all that. We're still in the holding pattern. I'm waiting for Phoenix to figure out what direction we're going. You know, I think our experience has kind of been the same as that of Peoria. And I think we're probably on the fence as well because of the pricing. So yeah, as I receive updates, I'll provide them to the group.
Okay. Great. No, thanks for confirming that. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, thank you. So because we just talked about the ATMS, I just want to let everyone know my center has actually done the evaluation for 5 ATMS systems. Was funded by City of Phoenix about 2 to 3 years ago. Another note I want to mention on another note is that my center actually received membership fees from ADA, City of Tucson, Pima County. They actually can give me a request to do further evaluation for them for the system. As long as I get a request from one of them, I can help the jurisdiction, our region, to determine what's the best system that works for entire region.
Dr. Wu, follow-up question. At this point, and obviously you haven't studied it, but do you have an opinion as to whether it's important for all of the agencies to be using the same system, the same program?
Yeah, I would recommend that. Yes, it'll be great because the integration will be much better. If you want to do, they still can do center to center communication, but it's still better to have the same system. If you have to make recommendation right now, but I'm happy to do further evaluation. And the 3 co-agency members of CATS will gather together end of June to talk about some other ideas. They can propose this idea to me. I can do. I follow my co-agency members' directions. They are on the board to direct the center.
Thank you.
Yep.
Good deal. Thanks, yeah. Okay. Any other questions, comments, thoughts on the ATMS? Okay, not seeing any. And actually, scratch that one, Crystal. We had a different topic. Our last item up is going to be just the simple communications update. Yep, that's the one. Thank you. Write this down, traffic signal. This is also a standing item. So we've kept this item on through the course and the history of our committee. It's just a chance for and a forum for keeping updated on activities, efforts, particular initiatives underway. So same thing, open call. Anybody want to share anything they've got going on in traffic signal communications world?
Rick, sorry, this is really more about the last item. I'm kind of curious about the city of Tucson and their status on their migration to Kinetics. I understand they are making that migration.
Yeah, Karen, I need to defer to either Gabe or Francisco. I don't think Francisco's here.
I was gonna say, I didn't see Francisco. Gabe, is that something you can answer Dion on?
Yeah. Francisco has been leading the efforts. It is moving along. It's moving along slowly. We did attend some training, but I'm sad to say, I think I gave this a similar update last time we met. We're still working through IT IT items such as like IP addresses and getting through the firewalls and all that stuff. So our IT and Q-Freeze people are working together.
And I'd have to go looking through my notes. Did you Q3? So is Q3 the vendor or the software? Are you guys, which system did you go to?
I know Q-Free have been the people presenting the training. I'm assuming that's the vendor. I wish I had more information. I do apologize.
Nah, no worries. Dion, it might be worth, sounds like reaching out directly to Francisco would probably get you caught up on what his efforts are.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Q-Free makes the Kinetics product.
Kinetics. Okay, thank you. You read my mind where I was going with it. Q-Free Kinetics. Okay. Okay. Thanks, Gabe. Thanks, Blake. Sorry, I didn't want to jump off that item too quickly, so I apologize for jumping to. Okay. Any final thoughts on that one? Jay, go ahead.
Just kind of like, I guess, an update. Maybe sharing experiences. On a lot of our larger highway projects, over the years, it's become incredibly frustrating when our IT systems go down. And so, we've been working pretty hard and including specifications in the contracts to ensure the contractor maintains all the communications and connectivity, obviously with brief shutdowns for tie overs or reconnects. And this seemed to work pretty well on the I-10 widening project we got going on right now. Because, we had to shift I-10 traffic onto the frontage roads and in essence, we had to cut over our fiber system and it was down for, I don't know, maybe like 30 hours. But it worked really well. Consequently, it came at a pretty crucial time because I was still trying to figure out the signal timing at INA and I-10, and we have it working as well as we can right now. So, but yeah, just wanted to throw that out there to the group and staying involved in their, capital improvement program and all the projects going on in their jurisdictions about, maintaining connections so that we can maintain our operations out there for the public. And then there was
Jay, quick question. I missed it. Did you put that on the contractor's responsibility for them to do it, or you did it with state forces?
How do I want to answer that? Excuse me. No, we put it in the special provisions.
Got it. Thank you. Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off on the last one. I missed that part as you were talking.
No, you're good. You're good.
Got it. Okay. Keep going.
I was trying to think what else I wanted to go to. Oh yeah. So also as a part of that I-10 widening, and I'm talking about Ruthroff to INA, we included in that contract to try to straighten out the fiber mess we have going through downtown. Obviously a lot of it's not so much physical as it is switch programming and whatnot. So I've reached out to the city to start talking updates to our ITS IGA, because we need to get that all straightened out. So I was hoping to start having the discussion about fiscal 24 money and funding, and what's going to be allocated to this group, and in hopes to use that funding to get downtown straightened up.
I've not heard, obviously I'll follow up if I do hear differently, but I've not heard of any categorical money being made available for any of these efforts. Right now, what we've got allocated or that's underway, as you heard Dion talking, but the focus and the emphasis has been primarily on fulfilling the obligations as well as the big capital projects. So if I do hear anything different, I'll let this group know. But for right now, I wouldn't plan on it.
10-4. Thank you.
Okay. Any other? Ramona, go ahead. No, you good, Ramona? Saw your hand up. Okay. I'll come back to you if you need to. Anybody else on communications updates?
Hey, Rick. Bob Green, Pima County.
Bob, how you doing?
Hey, good, good. Yeah, I got a few updates.
Go for it. You cut out and I lost you. Are you still there?
Let me see. Can you hear me now?
Got you now. Go for it.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know what happened. So
and now I lost you.
okay, it looked like the host was muting me. I'm getting muted by the host, Rick. I'm talking quick.
Okay. Don't know if that's something I can do. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Go for it. It's coming through now. So, all right, take a shot and we'll see how it works.
All right. Well, anyways, by this July, we're hoping to have MileVision deployed at all our Hawk locations. Previously we had one location, so that's an expansion of 17 locations. That'll bring us a lot of information about the Hawk installations and capability of recorded video. Also, we got 2 new signals that are up on the MileVision network. Brecky and Houghton and Old Spanish Trail in Valencia. And jumping back to the previous subject, we did have a short meeting with the city of Tucson about Q-Free Kinetics with Francisco Leyva. And it sounds like we'll get a lot more details in the weeks that come, but we do port our information from the MileVision system from our traffic signal controllers to the Maxview network. So we're hoping to continue to do that with our MileVision port forward connection. And that's it.
Got it. Perfect. Downloads. Okay. Glad to have you on board, Bob. Good seeing you. Thank you.
Yep. Sorry about the mic problem.
Nah, no worries, Ramona. Sorry, I was thinking you had questions and your system was acting up. So thank you for navigating that. Anybody else on communications efforts, activities, traffic signal tie-ins? Going once, doesn't look like, I don't see any hands. And anybody jump in if I'm not seeing you? Okay. All right, gang. Well, that's the last item on our agenda. If there's nothing else, my last request, so sticking with this monthly cycle, our next time frame that would be tentative, if you can hold a block out between 9 and 11, Thursday, July 13th. That would be our next targeted meeting on that. I'll reach out and follow up on the subcommittee identified and start getting that ball kicked into motion. And Jose, Cheryl, GJ, shoot me an email or I'll follow up with you guys a little bit later. I think I've got everything I needed. Any last thoughts for the good of the group?
Hey,
Hearing
Rick.
none- Oh,
Oh, actually, Rick Blake at City Tucson, is there any thought on this forum works really well, but is there any thought of to in person or hybrid?
right this second, I would say we're kind of trying to keep working groups on the virtual forum just because of the staff drain on it and all the other bigger committees that are needing the conference facilities and that all of our team is providing resource assistance to. So that's kind of where we've made that cutoff on it. It also happens to work pretty, I agree with you. I loved seeing you guys on an in-person basis on it. But I recognize some of the challenges with that, with travel, logistics, things like that.
Yeah, I understand.
For right this second, I'd say the conditions and the logistics are making it more beneficial to stay in a virtual format. But if that does change, I'll certainly give you guys plenty of advance notice.
Thanks, appreciate it.
You got it. All right, gang. Well, that's all I've got. Have a good rest of the Thursday. As always, good seeing everybody. Be good, be well, take care, and we'll be talking to you guys again soon.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thanks all.
Thanks, Rick.
Thank you.
Got it.
Bye.
Take care all.